So, guys, when when the Big 12 added Cincinnati and BYU, Houston, UCF, I actually called it the four best free agents they could have gone out and signed in terms of this conference. Um, However, the league's new schools haven't exactly set the Big 12 ablaze. The new schools are just 1-9 against the old established Big 12 teams. Um, and that one win came last Thursday in a Hail Mary game. Houston pulled it off against West Virginia, 41-39. So is this a sign that it's going to take a little time for the new guys to kind of adjust and make that transition? Or do you think it's a cyclical thing and maybe these teams are just in a down cycle in 2023? What do you think?
I think maybe it's a little bit of both. I was at Big 12 Media Days in Dallas, and UCF got all the attention in the world for a new team. I mean, they were kind of graded out as one to look out for. And there's your one Big 12 win. And quite a win that is, 35-7 down in the third quarter and come back and beat them at the bounce house 36-35. I don't know how much bouncing it was doing after that. It
actually had a lot of the fans had left by that point.
It was pretty sounds empty. More like a deflation than a bounce. But,
right.
But yeah, that's a heck of a win, really. And you would think that would have been something that would have turned the Bears around. And then,
agreed.
Because it's amazing to me, and not having seen your team other than just reading stats and reports and things like that, but losing 4 out of 5 at home will definitely irritate your fan base. Just as Cincinnati, it's been rare for them to lose at home, and they've lost now 3 straight at home. That's very, very odd. I think all the new teams probably suffer from depth issues compared to the traditional Big 12 teams. I think BYU, they have a pretty good tradition. They got thumped last week, which was out of the ordinary, but they normally get their guys. UCF, you're in Florida, you've got all the talent in the world there because every school comes to Florida to recruit speed. Houston probably ought to be better. They did pull that out of their hat there at the end. That was a very exciting game to watch. And then, Cincinnati, like I said, after the first 2 games, you're thinking, well, maybe this isn't so bad because a lot of the guys that they picked up out of the portal had been at Power 5 conferences before, like 16 or 17 of the 32 had played on major levels. And, Xavier Henderson was Florida's top receiver last year with 38 catches. He's at 30 now. But, I think and this might be an issue with the portal when you're going and getting a new team every year. It's like, well, who's the team leader? Because, in the old days, the guy had been there 4 or 5 years. Come on, guys. Yeah, this is not what we stand for. Well, what do we stand for anymore? Because we just showed up in town 2-3 months ago, and maybe we got a truck to play or something. But what do you stand for? That's a little shot at Utah, by the way. There's no trucks being handed out in Cincinnati. I guarantee you that. I mean that's a whole nother part of the equation here. The complexity of NIL and how you get guys and how do you keep guys and what are you getting? Are you getting any loyalty, or is everybody just chasing the bag?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of truth to that, and I think we're seeing basically college free agency these days. But Zach, I mean, do you think it's cyclical, or do you think these teams are just a little down right now?
I mean, I think they're a little down right now. I think Satterfield made a really, really good point yesterday at his press conference, and it was admittedly a little bit of coach speak, but it was true that the difference in going from the American or the Sun Belt, right? He was at Appalachian State, is just level of consistent execution, right? I think there's a reason, we watch Maction and the Fun Belt, these midweek games that kind of sometimes devolve into chaos. I think that, when we get to the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10, yeah, those chaotic games happen, but I think it's far less so. And I think it's just that the floor of execution is much higher. And so I think that's, at least to begin, for Cincinnati, BYU, UCF, that's kind of the hurdle that I think they're kind of pushing up against so far this season. So I think they'll get there. There's no reason to, especially like the points that have already been mentioned with the portal and NIL, they'll get there. But I think this season is kind of a blip on the radar in that regard.
Yeah, and I think it showed in the preseason rankings, the preseason poll in the Big 12. None of the 4 new teams were rated that highly. And obviously, Cincinnati, UCF, BYU, Houston, they've all had really good seasons in recent years. Obviously Cincinnati was in the playoff not that long ago. So I think, it is kind of one of these things that, you're up, you're down. I also think, though, that once these schools are in the Big 12 for a few seasons, that will help. It'll help in recruiting, and it'll help in bringing that Big 12 money in, and upgrading some facilities. I know Zach and I went to UCF that game, and no offense to UCF, but to me it felt like a big Texas high school football stadium.
Yeah.
It's okay, but does it match up with
Well, the basketball arena is not all that either. So.
Right. So
and you figure what, 60, 70,000 students, there's some money coming in. And
yeah.
Yeah.
So that Big 12 money will help all these programs for sure.